Former Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein's conviction on sexual misconduct has been overturned by New York's top court. Weinstein's rape conviction stems from 2020, but Thursday's ruling found that the judge at the landmark Me Too trial prejudiced the ex-movie mogul with what was termed egregious improper rulings. For more, we were earlier joined over the phone by France 24's Jessica Le Mazirier.
It really comes as a big shock to the women who testified that they were raped by former Hollywood movie producer Harvey Weinstein. This is really a stunning reversal of the case that sparked the Me Too movement. Weinstein's rape conviction has been overturned by this ruling from New York's High Court that says that all the evidence of uncharged prior acts undermined the defendant's right to testify. Now, the court says that the remedy to this is going to be a new trial. Now, the Manhattan District Attorney has to decide whether or not to order this retrial. This is, of course, devastating news for Weinstein's victims, who may be forced to relive their trauma once again. I covered that trial back in 2020, and I heard their harrowing testimonies in the courtroom. Weinstein was convicted and sentenced to 23 years in prison in the New York case. And despite the reversal of this case, he will stay behind bars because he was also convicted in another rape trial in LA back in 2022, and he got a 16-year sentence for that. Weinstein still maintains that he is innocent. He's in jail here in New York State at Mohawk Correctional Facility.
That was Jessica Le Mazirier from New York. Well, joining us now to discuss the case from Dallas is lawyer Michelle Simpson Tuegel, founder of the She Wins Law. Thank you so much for joining us, Michelle. Obviously, you were also a lawyer for the plaintiffs in the sex abuse trial of Olympic coach Larry Nassar. You have experience with these kind of cases, but also obviously there must be some kind of reaction to this latest news that Harvey Weinstein's ruling has been made. So I just want to understand from your legal perspective, why was this case overturned?
Well, it was overturned, and what the majority of the court stated in their opinion was that the court at the trial court level allowed other victims to testify beyond the ones who were the subject of the criminal indictment and prosecution in this trial. And they said that because this other evidence came in that was unfair to him and should not have come in that phase of the trial for the reasons that they said it just was in to show basically that he was a bad person and as to his character. But really, why this type of evidence is needed in sexual assault cases specifically goes to the issue of intent and consent. And it really is a major letdown for the survivors of Harvey Weinstein, but for other survivors, seeing such a powerful person and that his conviction has been overturned and survivors having to face going through this again is definitely a decision that will have impacts for other people.
We were talking to our reporter earlier who mentioned the fact that these emotions are going to be coming up again. And for those survivors, it must be harrowing. I mean, can you take us through the process of what we might expect now, at least in the courts in the time to come?
Well, the DA in New York is going to have some decisions to make about whether and how they retry him, because the case is being resent to the trial court to potentially be tried again. And what that means for victims is having to go through this process again. And this doesn't just communicate to the Weinstein victims, you may have to be and go through another trial and be re-traumatized, but it also communicates to other survivors that even in this case, where it was so public and there was such overwhelming evidence, you may still not reach the end of the road, even after a criminal conviction. And that's a hard thing to deal with.
Well, what do you think the general psyche is going to be across America right now following this announcement? What does it mean for accusers and the accused?
What it means for accusers is that, the opinion talks about rape myths. And really what this comes down to is I think the court is oversimplifying sexual assault itself and the dynamics of it. The reason these other victims came in and testified and why that testimony was necessary is because he fought this on the grounds of consent. And when defendants do that, the state and victims have to be able to respond to it. And that's exactly what the prosecutors did in this case. And the fact that the court is now saying you can't do it in this way definitely is going to have to create some adjustments if they even retry this case.
And Michelle, of course, then the question is going to come from many. What is the situation going to be for Harvey Weinstein himself?
Well, right now he's still sitting in prison in New York. And he also has a sentence that he was convicted for and sentenced to out of California. So he's certainly not close to freedom at this time. But he and his lawyers will be pursuing this new trial. And the DA in New York, who is currently trying the Trump criminal case, is going to have some decisions to make in the coming months.
Michelle Simpson Tuegel, thank you so much just for that deep insight into the legal wranglings of what's going on surrounding Harvey Weinstein. A reminder, Harvey Weinstein's ruling overturned.